call your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. Let's start off St. Patrick's Day weekend right. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Solar wind farms a no-go in 10 local communities. Austintown, Beaver, Berlin, Canfield, Coatesville, Goshen, Jackson, Milton, Poland, and Springfield all passed on a resolution. Well, they took the resolution to ban large wind farms and large solar facilities. Now, this story was published March 8th by Daniel Newman of the Vindicator, and he explains why the 10 communities 10 local communities decided to pass on wind and solar facilities. Story number 2. Hubbard has eyes on a student wellness center. The Hubbard Youth Coalition has been raising funds for a wellness center over the past 3 years. The group raised more than $140,000. Now, this story made in because of the continued news focusing on how effective wellness centers have been in local communities. The impact that Girard's Wellness Center has had on its community is what got this story in. Story number 3. $235,000 in money has been raised. The nonprofit business is hardcore, folks, if you did not know. Not only do nonprofits have to beg for money, but they have to cater to the needs of those who are less fortunate, who are also begging for money. Now, according to a staff report published March 11th, more than 1,000 people donated to help local nonprofits. The drive was able to raise $235,000 in a campaign that ran from November 27th to December 31st. Now, in deep need, nonprofits will use such funds to sustain ongoing programs. They'll also use this money to build their organization's future and support special capital projects and initiatives. Now, the article is filled with campaign numbers. If you check it out, it's actually in the Vindicator. It was published March 11th. Story number 4. What we can learn from an underdeveloped partial. It appears that Boardman officials have decided to accept a remediation plan for an underdeveloped partial on South Avenue, according to a Vindicator report published March 13th. Now, the report by Sheen Barron goes on to explain how a large underdeveloped partial on South Avenue will be used to build a senior independent living apartment complex built by Cincinnati-based Pivotal Housing Partners, LLC. Now, the continued complications for city zoning inspectors is what we can learn from this story. That means that zoning inspectors have been busy. Now, the story goes on to explain what took place after a stop work order was issued and then lifted, but really highlights how, if you want to get into the gist of it, it highlights how active and busy zoning workers have been lately, not just in Boardman. The saga unfolding in a zoning dispute with Boardman and Boardman Zoning and Boardman Dairy Queen has also been triggered. Story number 5. $11 million to Niles. Money, $11 million. $11 million is the number that will be heading to Niles, according to an article published by Mason Cole of the Vindicator. Now, the money invested into the city will be used to construct and maintain a fiber optic internet service in the city. Now, the key word is investment. That means that somebody's putting some money up. Now, the goal, as stated in the piece, is to provide its service to residential and businesses in hopes to boost the local economy by filling jobs with local residents. So this is the goal. Now, this story made it in because internet and resource upgrades have been consistently in the headlines. Now, this is even after Youngstown CEO Justin Jennings made headline with his free internet for school investment that came from the COVID-19 money. Now, it is clear that investors and local officials see something in the enhancement of technical infrastructures. So Jennings may have seen technology as the answer to improve remote learning in the COVID-19 meltdown. Who knows? Story number 6. $4.8 million for a new sewer project. According to a headline published March 14th by David Scolding of the Vindicator, Youngstown's City Board plans to approve a $4.8 million contract to use American Rescue Plan dollars to design an interceptor sewer to keep wastewater from flowing into Mill Creek Park. Ooh, this is big. Now, this is the largest single project approved from the $82,775,370 that the city received, according to the report. Now, the article is long and goes on to explain how the city plans to improve when it comes to wastewater improvement. This is money. They have used this money to basically almost rebuild some of the city. Most of the city. That's why story number 6. And on top of that, they're doing other things with all this money, but they're still spending away and trying to figure out how to spend. That's why story number 6 also made the top 2 this week. Big head. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, you would be amazed at how many people have information in the city. Information on city officials, information on what goes on in neighborhoods. And as the mediator, it's hard to digest sometimes because I do not have an army. I mean, I don't even own a gun. That's how sad it is. But I do have to be overwhelmed with stories. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it gets overwhelming because when you're releasing information and constantly releasing information, there are unknown forces and unknown enemies, people who you may want to be never even meet, never even know these people, never even know how they are, but you get these reports and people portray these people out to be evil. And then when you meet them, sometimes you're like, oh, this is really not a bad guy, but he may be doing some corrupt things. That's why I'm telling you, this show is important to a lot of people. So I hope I can keep the ball rolling. Story number 7. $22 million in federal funds. The U.S. House and Senate has agreed to allow $22 million in federal funds for the Youngstown Ward Regional Airport's primary runway and $4.2 million for a water line in Lordstown. Now, this is according to a report published March 8th by David Scolding. Now, what got this story in is the 6,500 earmarks totaling $12.7 billion. Now, the funds are all geared towards improving Western Reserve Port Authority and the Youngstown Air Reserve Station. U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown, Democrat of Cleveland, U.S. Rep. Dave Yost, Republican of Bainbridge, and Bill Johnson, the former congressman and Republican who is now the president of YSU, they all sponsored these federal funds. Story number 8 on St. Patty's Day, causing no strife, showing love to the green men and the green people, showing love into the atmosphere, baby. Hippie power! Ooh, with no green ganja, no green. I don't smoke that stuff, and those who do, stop it, stop it. Puff, puff, no give. Put it down. Let's get in shape. Hit the gym. Do some laps. Story number 8. What happened in Vienna? Oh, wow. Vienna at the top. WKBN has a report focusing on how trustees are not allowed to speak about an investigation into $1 million that has turned up missing in Vienna. Wow. The report explains how 200 people showed up to a township trustee meeting asking for answers. This story is still developing due to growing concerns about where the money went. How do you lose $1 million? Well, folks, those are the top 8 local stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, it's concerning when you're doing this program. I'm not going to lie to you. People come into the store sometimes with some amazing information, and I've come to learn that talking about people behind their back is sometimes easier than telling them to their face, And I've learned that that may be the best way to do things. And if you're going to talk about somebody, it may even be the solutions may be a little bit simpler because you don't have to deal with the complexities of getting bust in the face, talked at, So talking about people behind their back is not a bad thing. I'm starting to learn. There was something that happened where a guy came into the store and was telling me something about somebody, and then when I saw the person, the guy was just real calm. Act like he didn't even say anything about the person. Hey, how you doing? And all about I'm thinking in my head, like, he just said that person was doing some jiggly jangly and getting drunk and juicy and just got voted in office. So I don't know. Now, when I was in college, they used to always talk about how it's better to fire people in business when you're in business or through text messaging because there's less conflict if you fire them into their face. So you got to ask yourself, is it better just to talk about people behind their back and smile in their face? In their face, yeah. I'm starting to wonder about this. And why do people come to the littlest people who have literally no army, no ammunition, no nothing, expecting a solution? Peace, friends, is in the air. Let's waste no time. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Talk about joy. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Talk about peace. Woo! Let's get to it. Story number 1. High, lazy, bitter, and yearning for love. Yes, there's a lot of lonely men out there still playing with their jiggly loos. I might be joining that club, get me a lifetime membership. What Americans are doing in their spare time is showing an alarming, odd new world. This is all while church attendance is down and the same-sex fever is running wild. Numbers also show that Americans are getting hurt and divorcing at alarming rates, never turning back to normal sexual behavior. If you ask a number of people nowadays if they've ever used any type of drugs, yes, that includes weed, many will say yes. The sad part about this story is the fact that people still want to love. They're eager to love. They're yearning for it. They just seem to be finding it in some odd and usual settings. Now, if you ask employers about the American work ethic, also many may say that they're afraid that America is lazier than ever before. They're not getting gritty. They're not getting dirty. Attitude is also on the radar because people are upset, bitter, rebelling against the rule of law, tender. Don't want to get their nails dirty, folks. This story is still developing. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2, the evolving crime stories. Harsh crimes are nothing new to society, and no one is immune. A major porn star, Sophia Leone, died in an apparent mysterious homicide incident. She was only 26 years old. Now, violence in Syria has also surged to its worst level since 2020, and multiple Taco Bell locations in Oakland have closed dining rooms because of crime concerns. Now, why is crime evolving so much? That's what got the story in. A porn star. How do you kill a porn star? Women die in sex trafficking rings. Attractive, beautiful women, goddesses, giving life to people looking through the computer and vibrating, watching these beautiful women. And one has died. This is not the only one who has died, but this one is mysterious. Big story number 3. Retailers are treading water and some are going under. Chapter 11 bankruptcy seems to be the new normal for many retailers trying to stay afloat these days. The Street has an entire piece highlighting the struggles. Reuters does have a headline also stating that retail sales increased by 0.6% in February, and also explains how retail jobless claims fell to 1,000 from 1,000 to 1,000 to 209,000. So they fell. I guess those are some numbers, odd numbers, but that's what the article says. Now this was less than expected, so that means that there were high projections, but there's a little bit of a dud. Now this story is still developing, and everyone is a factor in the economy game right now. That means even poor people, they're even watching what they're buying. Did he buy some water with that penny somebody just gave him? So they're checking out. Everybody's on the radar, even me. I mean, I'm buying cheap ties. They probably spying on me, watching me walking to charity stores buying ties. Who knows? They're watching everything. Story number 3, big headline. They may even get a telecommunications call. Do you have a job? Are you touching yourself? Okay. Right down to the data. Big. Story number 4. Boeing faces some hard times. The airline. Multiple headlines showing the problems facing, or the problems surfacing at Boeing have been in the news. Even Boeing's CEO headlines. Wow. Even though a pilot was able to safely land a plane and save the people that plunged suddenly mid-flight, the airline now literally has no room for errors. But the bad news didn't stop there. This is about Boeing. More news soon spread about flight controls jamming on other flights. Now, one article in CNN report has a CNN report has an entire piece showing major challenges ahead for the major airliner. Now, BBC reported that a Boeing whistleblower, John Burnett, was found dead. This is how bad this story is getting. Now, John worked for the company for 30 years before he retired in 2017. Now, he was saying in the report, he was reporting on some faulty things that was happening at the company, but that was not getting solved. Now, the report says that he killed himself. How sad is that? That's why story number 4 made it this week. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. I'll be right back with the top 4. So don't you go anywhere. You're in the Mediator. Me, Brian West. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. Another topic that is a little bit unlucky, outside of talking about people behind their back that could probably put you in some unlucky situations, is whistleblowing. Oh my God. I have come to learn, I even had to ask a buddy before I even got to this point. I said, would you ever tell on somebody, if especially a company, if you knew what was at stake? You could start a war. Would you tell? He said, no, I wouldn't tell. I don't want to know. And a lot of people are choosing just not to know, because if you know, it causes a lot of death, war. Even with somebody came into the building talking about Edward Snowden videos, and I said, Edward Snowden, he's on the run, but he's caused the information that he's leaked across the world. You can see the empires just crumbling. And when you whistleblow, you even look at the story that just passed about the Boeing whistleblower. Is it even worth it? You look at some of these figures throughout all of history, the bravery that they've come with trying to inform people. Some people don't even care. So some of you may sit back and say, well, what's the point? Do you just want to live your life and die? I think a great philosopher said it, where there's a hero, there's a lot of tragedies. So I guess there's a point to that. Some people tell thinking that it's going to create good, when actually it may create more problems. So do you tell? Do you whistleblow? Do you snitch? Do you take the beating? Do you die? I think even the St. Patrick, I think the day that they celebrate St. Patrick's was a day because I guess this was the patron saint who they said took all the snakes out of Ireland. There's a metaphor to that saying, but it's a big question. You know, this St. Patrick's Day. Do you sacrifice all of your anointing to save your people, save the world, be brave enough? That's a big question. Do you whistleblow? Whew. Do you take the beating? The chronicles of mediation are heating up. Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Enrollment declines and absenteeism. No, I am not Catholic, but I do try to because I have Catholic customers. I know Baptists, I know Muslims, I know all types of people. So I try to make this show for everybody. And yes, Ramadan just started a week ago. So I do serve this community. So I try to serve everybody. Jews, Gentiles, Muslims, ancient Kemet, Baptists, Pentecostal, all of them. But there is an absenteeism and enrollment problem, especially in religion. Now, Fox News has an article focusing on enrollment drops and chronic absenteeism, which is causing great concerns across America. Now, according to the report, American public schools lost more than 1 million students from the fall of 2019 to the fall of 2020, with enrollment falling from 50.8 million to 49.4 million students, according to the National Center for Education Statistics. Now, the article says that high poverty is playing a huge factor in these numbers. Yes, poverty, big head. Story number 6, the U.S. economy, economic synopsis. The U.S. economic synopsis. One opinion piece in Fox Business states that government is getting fatter while Americans are racking up high credit card debt. That means everybody's getting in debt. Now, the opinion piece is by E.J. Antony of Fox Business. Now, the piece goes on to say that weekly paychecks fell $85 over time despite growing $270, with 60% of families living paycheck to paycheck. Now, the article focuses on household debt and the federal debt, but what got the story in is the fact that is the question of how are officials living while a lot of Americans are struggling. Are these officials struggling also? That's why story number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Big. Story number 7 on St. Patrick's Day weekend. And on St. Patty's Day, if you're watching the show online. Folks, there are some facts that you may not know about St. Patrick. You know his favorite color was not green. He was actually a slave. He was a Christian missionary that was sent to Ireland. And the other facts is that his name was not actually even Patrick, if you did not check. You can Google this just if you have any questions. Some other facts about St. Patrick's is the fact that he was not even Irish, but he was sent to Ireland as a bishop. And so that's what facts that you may not know about St. Patrick's. Big on this St. Patty's Day weekend. And things that you may learn over time when you do study these figures, but he was a Christian in the Roman Catholic faith in a time when the Anglo-Saxons and all that stuff, and I think he played a part in the process that took place in Ireland, the conversions and the missionary work. So that's why I'm talking about the story, because it's a St. Patty's Day and a lot of people may not know about what they're celebrating. So let's get to story number 7, the pricing challenge. We waste valuable things every day. If you did not know that, money, food, gas. So the question is, how and why is everything so expensive if people are wasting things? USA Today has an article focusing on rising rents and how hard it has been to find affordable housing. Now, as this program airs, the homelessness rates are continuing to rise, and it seems that it could be getting worse. Now, the truth in the story is that Washington D.C. has to do something about cost. That means stuff is high. Prices. Ugh. Can afford it. Reuters says that the U.S. pump prices are set to jump as refinery outages will nip supply. That's in the Reuters report. Now, The Guardian says that the American dream of owning a home is dead. NBC News says that after 8 consecutive months of 3% inflation, the Fed's 2% goal remains elusive. Folks, the pricing challenges are heating up. So we start number 7, almost made to the top this week, even on St. Patty's Day, when we're all searching for that pot of gold. A big head. Story number 8 in the top. International headline and developing news story that made this week. The never-ending foreign conflicts. Whew. Maybe you could get some snakes out the field this year. Haiti is now at the table with a $300 million multinational security mission, according to a CNN report. This is after the country plunged into anarchy. Ukraine, I think there's a gang leader named Barbecue who has jumped to the front of the aisles, going in and ravaging police stations and everything. Ukraine is still leaking money out of the U.S. Treasury. The war between Israel and Gaza, that's in the war between Russia and Ukraine, and then the war in Israel and Gaza is also costly. This is all while many Americans and the country are falling deeper and deeper into debt. Some people still have no clue what's even going on a global scale. They just think that the reason why things is getting high is because the devil did it. There are side reports also making international news that somehow, while innocent people and soldiers are dying in the fight, they're saying that politicians and investors into these wars are still able to afford the finer things in life. That means that their pockets are getting fat. While everybody else is fighting the wars, folks, this story is still developing. That's why story number 8 made to the top this week on St. Patty's Day. If you celebrated, a lot going on in the world. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the mediator, the man in the middle, navigating your stories just to keep people informed. If you want to show some support here at Method, it doesn't take much. All you do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor the program. Or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street, Youngstown, or Boardman, Ohio, and see my smiling face, even chat with me. Well, folks, I'm out of here. Happy St. Patty's Day. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator this week with me, Brian West. Welcome to spring. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.